In the heart of a busy corporate office tower, a man named James worked as a janitor every day. He arrived early in the morning, dressed in his simple uniform, ready to clean the floors and empty the trash bins, while most people rushed past him, focused on their important meetings and projects. James quietly went about his job, always with a smile on his face. He took pride in his work, believing that each small task contributed to the bigger picture of the company. James was not just another janitor. He was a man with a remarkable mind. In his free time, he loved to read books about mathematics and problem solving. He often spent hours studying complex problems and theories, fascinated by how numbers and logic could be used to understand the world. To him, math was like a puzzle, and he enjoyed finding solutions that others might overlook. However, most of his co-workers had no idea about his intellectual talents. They saw him as just a man with a mop and bucket, not realizing that he had a wealth of knowledge hidden beneath his humble exterior. One evening, as James was cleaning the hallway outside the conference room, he overheard a group of executives discussing a serious issue. The atmosphere was tense, and their voices were filled with frustration. They were trying to solve a major supply chain problem that had already cost the company millions of dollars. The executives were brainstorming ideas, but none of them seemed to work. They argued back and forth, each one throwing out suggestions that only complicated the situation further. James listened carefully, his mind racing as he tried to make sense of what they were saying. As he stood there with his mop in hand, he could feel a spark of inspiration lighting up in his mind. He had been thinking about similar issues in his studies and believed he might have a solution. However, he felt nervous about approaching the executives. What would they think of a janitor offering ideas to high-ranking officials? Despite his doubts, he knew he had to try. The company was in trouble, and if he could help, he felt it was his responsibility to speak up. After the executives left the conference room, James took a deep breath and gathered his courage. He stepped forward, his heart racing as he introduced himself. "Excuse me, but I couldn't help but overhear your discussion. I think I might have an idea that could help," he said, his voice steady despite the nerves bubbling inside him. The executives turned to look at him, surprise written on their faces. Some raised their eyebrows, while others exchanged puzzled glances. They were not used to hearing from someone like James. One of the executives, a tall man with a stern expression, asked, "And what could you possibly know about our supply chain problems?" James felt a wave of doubt wash over him, but he remembered his passion for problem solving. He quickly replied, "I've been thinking about it, and I believe there might be a way to adjust our logistics to improve efficiency. If you give me a chance to explain, I think I can show you a solution." With a mixture of skepticism and curiosity, the executives agreed to hear him out. James felt a mixture of excitement and fear. This was his moment to shine, and he was determined to make the most of it. As he prepared to share his ideas, he felt the weight of his role as a janitor lift, replaced by a sense of purpose and hope. Little did he know that this moment would change everything, not just for him, but for the entire company. James stood in front of the group of executives, his heart pounding in his chest. The conference room was large, with a long table surrounded by serious-looking men and women in suits. They were all staring at him, some with skepticism, others with curiosity. He took a deep breath to calm his nerves, knowing that this was his chance to make a difference. He set aside his mop and bucket, feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety. "Thank you for giving me this opportunity," James began, his voice steady despite the butterflies in his stomach. "I know I'm just a janitor, but I've been thinking about the supply chain problem you discussed. I believe I might have a solution." He glanced at the executives, searching for any sign of support. They leaned in slightly, intrigued by what he had to say. James continued, explaining how he had overheard their conversation. He talked about the various challenges they faced, including delays, rising costs, and inefficient processes. As he spoke, he noticed that the executives were listening more intently, taking notes and nodding their heads, encouraged by their reaction. He pressed on, "I believe that by making a few adjustments to your logistics, you can save both time and money," he said confidently. He detailed his idea, which involved reorganizing delivery schedules and optimizing routes. "If you adjust the times when deliveries are made, you can avoid traffic and ensure that shipments arrive on time. This will reduce costs and improve customer satisfaction." James could see the executives exchanging glances, their expressions shifting from doubt to interest. He felt a surge of confidence as he explained the math behind his proposal. For example, He continued, if you change the delivery times by just a few hours, you can save on fuel costs and reduce the number of late deliveries. This will not only save money, but also improve the efficiency of your entire supply chain. As he spoke, James used simple charts he had drawn on paper to illustrate his ideas. He wanted to make sure that everyone could understand his points clearly. He explained how small changes could lead to significant savings over time. Every dollar you save on logistics can be reinvested into the company, he said passionately. Think of what you could do with that money: new projects, better salaries, or even community programs. The room was silent as James concluded his presentation. He could feel the weight of their gazes upon him, and for a moment, he worried that he might have overstepped his bounds. But then, the CEO, a tall man with a commanding presence, leaned back in his chair and spoke. James, that was impressive. You've given us a lot to think about. I have to admit, I didn't expect such a thorough analysis from someone in your position. James felt a rush of relief wash over him. The CEO's words were encouraging, and he could see the other executives nodding in agreement. They began to discuss his ideas, tossing around terms like implementation and cost analysis. James listened intently, his heart swelling with pride. He had captured their attention, and for the first time, he felt like he truly belonged in that room. As the discussion continued, James found himself contributing more. He answered their questions with confidence and offered additional insights. The atmosphere changed from skepticism to excitement as they all began to explore the potential of his ideas. By the end of the meeting, James realized that he had not only shared his thoughts, but had also opened a door to a new way of thinking within the company. Little did he know, this meeting was just the beginning of a journey that would change his life forever. The executives were eager to explore his suggestions, and James felt a sense of purpose and pride that he had never experienced before. He had stepped out of the shadows and into the light, ready to make a real impact. After the meeting, the atmosphere in the office buzzed with excitement. James had surprised everyone with his insights, and many employees began to talk about the janitor who had offered a solution to a major problem. His name was on everyone's lips, and whispers of admiration filled the hallways. While James returned to his usual tasks of cleaning and organizing, he felt a change in how people regarded him. No longer was he just the janitor. He was someone who had made a difference. As days passed, the executives began to take James's ideas seriously. They decided to hold a follow-up meeting to dig deeper into his proposal. James was invited to join the discussion, an honor that made him feel both nervous and excited. He could hardly believe that he was being asked to sit at the same table as the company's leaders. He spent the night before the meeting preparing himself, reviewing his notes, and practicing what he wanted to say. On the day of the meeting, James walked into the conference room. With a mix of confidence and apprehension, the executives were already seated, their expressions serious but curious. The CEO welcomed him warmly, saying, James, thank you for being here again. We were impressed with your ideas last time, and we want to hear more. James felt a rush of pride as he took his seat at the table. He began by briefly recapping his previous presentation, focusing on the key points that had sparked their interest. With each word, he felt more at ease. The executives listened carefully, nodding as he spoke. He could see that they were engaged and eager to learn more. Then, James introduced a more detailed plan. He outlined specific steps for implementing his logistics suggestions, including potential timelines and expected outcomes. If we start with a trial program, we can measure the results before rolling it out company-wide, he explained. This approach will allow us to make adjustments as needed and ensure we are on the right path. As he described the trial program, James noticed the executives taking notes and discussing among themselves. Their interest was palpable, and he felt a sense of validation for the hard work he had put into his ideas. The CEO then asked, what challenges do you foresee with this implementation, James? James took a moment to think about the question. He wanted to be honest while also showing his confidence in the plan. Every new system has challenges, he replied, but with good communication and teamwork, I believe we can overcome them. It's important for everyone involved to understand the changes and why they are necessary. The executives nodded in agreement, impressed by his thoughtful response. They began to discuss how they could involve various departments in the trial program, ensuring that everyone had a role in making it successful. James felt a sense of camaraderie with the team, realizing that they were all working towards the same goal. After the meeting, the CEO approached James. You've brought fresh ideas to our company. And I want to thank you for your input. We need more voices like yours, he said sincerely. James was taken aback by the compliment. Thank you, sir. I just want to help, he replied, feeling a warmth in his chest. As he left the conference room, James felt a surge of hope. He had stepped out of his comfort zone and shared his ideas, which were now being taken seriously. The experience transformed him from a janitor into a valued contributor, and he realized that his voice mattered. This was not just a job for him anymore. It was a chance to make a real impact. Little did he know, this recognition would lead to even greater opportunities, shaping his future in ways he had never imagined. James was beginning to see the possibilities that lay ahead, and he was ready to embrace them fully. The day of the trial program arrived, and excitement filled the air in the corporate office. James was both nervous and thrilled. He had worked hard to prepare for this moment, and now it was time to see if his ideas would make a real difference. The executives had assembled a team to help implement the changes he had suggested, and James felt proud to be a part of it. As the morning sun streamed through the large windows, illuminating the conference room, James stood at the front with a whiteboard filled with charts and notes. The team, made up of employees from various departments, watched him intently. They were curious to see how this janitor had suddenly become a key player in the company's strategy. James felt a sense of responsibility. He wanted to prove that their faith in him was well placed. Thank you all for being here today, James began, his voice steady despite his racing heart. I appreciate your willingness to try something new. Together, we can make our supply chain more efficient. He paused for a moment, looking around at the faces in the room. Everyone seemed eager to learn and ready to support the initiative. James started by explaining the steps of the trial program. First, we will adjust our delivery schedules slightly to avoid peak traffic times. This will help us save on fuel costs and ensure timely deliveries, he said, pointing to the charts that illustrated his points. The team listened closely, taking notes and asking questions. James felt more relaxed as he engaged with the group, sharing ideas and addressing their concerns. He explained the plan in detail, discussing how they would monitor the results over the next few weeks. We will track delivery times, costs, and customer feedback. This data will help us understand if the changes are effective, he explained. As he spoke, he could see the team growing more enthusiastic about the project. They began to brainstorm additional ideas, suggesting ways to enhance the plan even further. One employee, a logistics manager named Sarah, raised her hand. James, what if we also looked into using more technology to track our shipments? That might help us see where improvements can be made, she suggested. James smiled, appreciating her input. That's a great idea, Sarah. Technology can provide us with real-time information, allowing us to react quickly to any issues that arise. The room buzzed with energy as more ideas were shared. Everyone was eager to contribute, and James felt a strong sense of teamwork developing. The executives, who had initially been skeptical, now watched in awe as the group collaborated and built on James's initial proposal. The atmosphere was no longer filled with doubt. Instead, it was charged with optimism and determination. As the meeting came to a close, the CEO stood up and addressed the group. I'm impressed by the enthusiasm and creativity I've seen today. This trial program has the potential to revolutionize our operations, and it all started with James's insight. Let's make this a success. Applause erupted in the room, and James felt a rush of pride wash over him. He had not only shared his ideas, but had also inspired others to think outside the box. After the meeting, James walked out of the conference room feeling elated. He had successfully presented his plan, and the support from his colleagues was overwhelming. For the first time, he felt like he truly belonged in the company. He was no longer just the man who cleaned the floors. He was a valued member of the team, contributing to the company's future. As he returned to his cleaning duties, James couldn't help but smile. He had taken a leap of faith, and it had paid off. The moment felt like a turning point in his life, and he was excited to see where this journey would lead him. Little did he know, the next few weeks would bring challenges and triumphs that would change everything for him and the company. The trial program began, and the atmosphere in the office was electric with anticipation. Over the next few weeks, James worked closely with the team to implement his ideas. The changes were not just logistical. They represented a shift in the company's culture. For the first time, employees at all levels were collaborating, sharing ideas, and feeling empowered to contribute to the company's success. Each day, James watched as the team tracked their progress. They collected data on delivery times, costs, and customer satisfaction. The results were promising. Deliveries were arriving earlier and customer complaints were decreasing. The executives were thrilled to see the improvements, and James felt a sense of pride knowing that his ideas were making a difference. One afternoon, as James was cleaning the break room, he overheard two executives discussing the trial program. "I can hardly believe the results," one of them said. "James's ideas have transformed our logistics in just a few weeks. We are saving money and improving customer satisfaction." The other executive nodded in agreement, looking impressed. "We need to make this a permanent change. I think we should present this at the next board meeting." James's heart raced at the thought. They were going to present his ideas to the board. He felt both excited and nervous. This was a huge opportunity, not just for him, but for everyone involved. The next day, the executives scheduled a meeting to discuss the trial program's success with the entire team. James was invited to attend and share his thoughts. As the day of the meeting arrived, James felt a mix of emotions. He was proud of what they had achieved, but also anxious about speaking in front of such a large audience. The conference room was filled with employees, and many faces turned to him as he entered. The CEO began the meeting with a summary of the trial program's results, highlighting the positive changes that had taken place. Then it was James's turn to speak. He stood up, feeling the weight of everyone's expectations on his shoulders. "Thank you all for believing in this project," he began. "I'm really proud of what we've accomplished together. Our teamwork and creativity have made a real impact." He explained the details of the changes they had made and how they had contributed to the company's success. The room was silent, everyone hanging on his every word. As he spoke, the CEO interjected, "I want to emphasize how important James's role has been in this transformation. He has shown us that great ideas can come from anywhere, and we need to listen to all our employees." The applause that followed filled James with a sense of accomplishment. This was not just a victory for him, but a victory for everyone who had worked on the project. However, the most shocking moment came when the CEO made an announcement that left everyone speechless. "I am proud to inform you that, effective immediately, we are promoting James to a new position. He will be our operations consultant, working alongside our management team to continue improving our logistics." Gasps filled the room, and James felt his heart skip a beat. He could hardly believe what he had just heard. The employees erupted into applause, cheering for James. He was overwhelmed with emotion. Just a few months ago, he had been a janitor, and now he was being recognized as an essential part of the company's success. He looked around the room, seeing smiles and expressions of pride on his co-workers' faces. This was a moment he would never forget. As the meeting concluded, James felt a mix of excitement and responsibility. He had always wanted to make a difference, and now he had the chance to do so in a much bigger way. He realized that this was not just about him. It was about inspiring others to believe in themselves and their ideas. With this new role, he hoped to encourage his colleagues to share their thoughts and innovations, just as he had done. This was the beginning of a new chapter for James, and he was ready to embrace the challenges and opportunities ahead. Little did he know that this journey would not only change his life, but also transform the entire company for the better. News of James's promotion spread like wildfire throughout the company. Within hours, everyone knew about the janitor who had become an operations consultant. The hallways buzzed with conversations about his incredible journey, and employees who had barely noticed him before now looked at him with admiration and respect. James felt overwhelmed by the attention, but he was also grateful for the support from his colleagues. As he settled into his new role, James noticed significant changes happening around the office. The company culture was transforming in ways no one had expected. Employees who had previously felt hesitant to share their ideas now felt encouraged to speak up. The CEO had made it clear that all voices mattered, regardless of job title or position. This message resonated throughout the organization, creating an atmosphere of openness and collaboration. James's first week as operations consultant was both exciting and challenging. He was given his own office, complete with a desk, computer, and whiteboard for brainstorming. It felt surreal to have his own workspace after years of carrying cleaning supplies from room to room. He spent his days analyzing data, meeting with different departments, and working on new strategies to improve efficiency across the company. One of the most rewarding aspects of his new position was mentoring other employees. James discovered that many of his co-workers had brilliant ideas but lacked the confidence to share them. He made it his mission to encourage others to think creatively and contribute to the company's success. During team meetings, he would ask questions like, "What challenges do you face in your daily work? And how do you think we could solve this problem together?" Sarah, the logistics manager who had supported his ideas from the beginning, became one of his closest collaborators. She often visited his office to discuss new projects and share her observations. "James, you've inspired so many people here," she told him one afternoon. "Ever since your promotion, I've seen employees from every department coming forward with suggestions. It's like you've unlocked something special in this company." James smiled at her words, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. He realized that his journey was not just about his own success, but about creating opportunities for others. He started organizing monthly meetings where employees could present their ideas, no matter how small or unconventional they might seem. These sessions became incredibly popular, with people eagerly signing up to share their thoughts. The impact of these changes extended beyond individual employees. Departments that had rarely worked together began collaborating on projects. The marketing team partnered with the logistics department to improve customer communication. The human resources team worked with operations to create better training programs. The entire company was becoming more connected and efficient. James also noticed changes in how management approached decision-making. Instead of making choices in isolation, executives now sought input from employees at all levels. They recognized that the people doing the day-to-day work often had the best insights into how processes could be improved. This shift in leadership style created a sense of trust and mutual respect throughout the organization. The financial results were impressive as well. The company continued to save money through the improved logistics system, and customer satisfaction ratings reached all-time highs. The success attracted attention from industry publications, and the company was featured in several articles about innovative workplace cultures. James was often mentioned as the catalyst for these positive changes. As he reflected on the transformation, James felt proud of what they had accomplished together. He had not only solved a problem, but had also helped create a workplace where everyone felt valued and heard. The ripple effect of his initial idea had touched every corner of the company, proving that one person's courage to speak up could lead to extraordinary changes. This was just the beginning of the company's evolution, and James was excited to see what other innovations and improvements lay ahead. He knew that with the right environment and encouragement, his colleagues would continue to surprise him with their creativity and dedication. Months passed since James's promotion, and the changes within the company continued to flourish. The once bustling office had transformed into a vibrant hub of innovation and collaboration. Employees were now excited to come to work, knowing that their ideas were welcomed and valued. James had established a culture where creativity thrived, and the results were evident in every department. One sunny afternoon, James received an email that made his heart race. The CEO wanted to hold a special company-wide meeting to discuss the incredible progress they had made. James felt a mix of pride and nervousness. This meeting would be an opportunity to celebrate their achievements and reflect on how far they had come since he first shared his ideas in that small conference room. As the day of the meeting arrived, the atmosphere in the office was electric. Employees gathered in the large conference room, chatting excitedly. James stood at the front, preparing his notes, and he could feel the energy in the air. He looked around at the familiar faces, each one filled with enthusiasm and hope. It was hard to believe that just months earlier, he had been cleaning the floors while these same people rushed past him, unaware of his potential. The CEO opened the meeting with a warm welcome. "Today, we celebrate not just our financial success, but the incredible culture of teamwork and innovation that we have built together," he began. "James, your contributions have inspired us all, and I want to thank you for your dedication and vision." As he spoke, James felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. He had never imagined that his ideas could lead to such a significant change in the company. The CEO continued, highlighting the impressive statistics that showed increased efficiency, reduced costs, and improved customer satisfaction. The numbers were impressive, but to James, it was the stories of employees finding their voices that meant the most. After the CEO finished his remarks, he invited James to share his thoughts. Standing in front of the room, James took a deep breath. "Thank you, everyone," he began, looking out at his colleagues with a smile. "I am truly honored to be here today. This journey has been incredible, and it wouldn't have been possible without all of you." He recounted the early days of the trial program, Emphasizing how teamwork and collaboration had led to their success, James spoke about the importance of listening to each other and being open to new ideas. Every voice matters, he said passionately. When we work together, we can achieve amazing things. As he looked around the room, he saw nodding heads and smiling faces. It was clear that his words resonated with everyone. James encouraged his colleagues to continue sharing their ideas and to keep pushing the boundaries of what they could achieve. Together, he believed that the best was yet to come. After his speech, the room erupted into applause, and James felt a sense of accomplishment wash over him. This was not just a celebration of his journey, it was a celebration of everyone who had contributed to the company's change. The energy in the room was infectious, and he knew that they were all committed to moving forward together. In the weeks that followed, the company continued to grow and innovate. James worked closely with different departments, helping them refine their processes and encouraging them to think creatively. He became a mentor to many, sharing his experience and inspiring others to step outside their comfort zones. As time went on, James's story began to circulate beyond the company walls. He was invited to speak at conferences and share his journey with others. He became a symbol of empowerment and change, showing that anyone could make a difference, regardless of their background or position. Years later, as James looked back on his journey, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had not only transformed his own life, but had also created a legacy of change within the company. The culture of innovation and collaboration would continue to thrive long after he had moved on to new challenges. James knew that his story was just one of many, and he felt proud to have inspired others to believe in themselves. He had learned that every idea, no matter how small, could lead to extraordinary changes, and that, he realized, was the true power of teamwork coming together to make a lasting impact on the world.